Hey, welcome back to the show, everybody. Just a couple minutes late, but we're still brought to you by Earth Radio. At least for a little while. I still haven't gotten still got to talk to the sponsor. I think he's still our sponsor. We gotta check that out. But yeah, anyway, brought to you by Earth Radio. Go to Mixler.com, set up your account there, and follow Earth Radio, and then you can listen to shows like ours, Into the Outer Realms, Dimensions of the Supernatural with Maureen. Ron's got his own lineups right there, and so let everybody know. Like show for people that after the last show, we'll kind of talk about pretty much. I didn't really make it huge public on Facebook or anything like that. My wife had a heart attack last Thursday, and so it was a minor one, but she was doing good right now. So she's basically she's doing pretty well. I mean, just small blockage in a small artery. So they just got her on medication now. But yeah, so appreciate everybody, the thoughts and prayers that everybody has been, offering up for. I really appreciate that from everybody. So that's the update on her. So but tonight's show, we've got Katie Turner back. She psychic medium. We were talking with, she really has a gift, and it was really cool to get to talk with her and wanted to get her back on. And so we were able to get her back here, and we're going to continue talking about it because the last time we had her on, she showed that really cool photo where it had the cat up on the stairway right behind I want to say that's called a banister is what that's called. I could be wrong, but the stair rail, whatever it is, just behind you can see it through the slat. That was really cool. And so she had a couple other photos, and so we're definitely going to continue that conversation. So Chris is out tonight. He might be able to join late. He's at a basketball tryout for his son. So the family things came forward. So, all right, we will see everybody on the other side. Katie Turner is right now. Welcome to the Three Beards podcast. My name's Craig, along with Austin and Chris.
Passed to a new generation of Americans born in this century.
Let me out.
I'm afraid that is right.
Then live to send the innocent to their death? Is this justice and honor in Massachusetts colony?
I had to do that since we were talking about AI prior to the show.
Yes, we were. Just wondering.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to know that the missus is good.
Yes.
I think it may be the food, all that good, rich food you're cooking.
No, it looks like it was probably actually hereditary.
Yeah, that's what they blame everybody. It's either hereditary or your spouse.
Because the rest of her numbers were good, and so they're pretty. Yeah, they're pretty sure that it's probably more hereditary than it was actual diet, because she's. Yeah, so in the previous, she's lost. Okay. Yeah, she's done really well. I mean, she'd already lost like 50 pounds. I mean, it's like, so she was actually doing really good despite my cooking. That's Brian would say.
Actually, she just had this thing, and he starts putting out. Look at the steak we're giving her. Look
Yeah,
at the
look, yeah, look at
fried
this.
chicken we're gonna give her. Yeah.
Oh, well, we're in the hospital, so she's here at the cardiac. She's got all the stuff hooked up to her for cardiac team. And what do? I come in. I was eating healthy. It was a chicken Caesar wrap. I was eating that. But then what do I proceed to do? I crack open a Monster energy drink. Just drinking it. And she just looks at me like,
Are
really?
you out of your mind?
I'm like, what? She's like, I'm over here with a heart attack and you're over there at a 48-year-old drinking a Monster energy drink. Are you trying to join me? I'm like, what? I'm like, it's fine.
It's a little granola, green tea, honey, whatever it is.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm a little tired. What do you want? What do you want? I've been here for 12 hours. And it's like, yeah. So that was me. So yeah, no, she's doing good.
Nana,
So
hi, Laura, Taryn, King, Al, the big Ragu Santariga, Carolyn, Cisco, Journey Through the Gate, great podcast. Just want to say hello to everybody.
well, this is the better one. Nice dye job.
Yeah. What dye job? Yeah, I have a
Yeah,
dye job.
your hair and your beard.
No, my hair is not dyed. This gets it sometimes.
Yeah, I know. That's why it says it looks like it was professionally done.
Oh, thank you. Well, it was Brian that decided to let him know, you may want to do the eyebrows too. So,
Yeah.
Because everything was like
occasionally make sure that
then the eyebrows, wherever.
No, I've asked her.
Today. Okay, let's go, big boy.
Yeah, I told her, I go, you let me know when you're tired of the, if it gets too silver, then I could add something to it. But she likes the color. Color
No,
change.
I mean, I don't know. It's you
shows the age.
Stuff you can wash in or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Whatever.
Yeah, that's when I said welcome, everybody. This goes here.
Yep.
So that everybody. So wait. So
she just had a birthday. Happy birthday, by the way.
So we got a break. She's hanging out in the backstage in our professional green room that was just renovated thanks to Earth Radio. Katie Turner, how are you?
And we'll swap Katie with me.
Oh yeah. Yep.
To get her on the
not gonna lie,
on the broadcast because
it's freezing
should be
here
at
in the
the
good
upper
old
right
north.
square.
I'm freezing.
We're getting into the. Let's see. Welcome.
He's delayed.
Clearly.
I'm delayed.
Okay. She was like talking and you're over here. It's like guests should be up here and
I don't know why, because I'm plugged directly into the machine, the computer, and for some reason,
Craig,
and it's not right there. Yeah, but I'm not sure what's going on. It was kind of like it's almost a way. It was kind of like what was going on with Chris a couple of years ago. We always just joked with him that he needed to put quarters in his router.
I do.
Because he would do the same thing. All of a sudden, he'd be talking, and all of a sudden, he'd just freeze, and then he would kind of, and then he'd just be gone. And we're like, he needs to put quarters in the machine.
I'm back.
If I may, I think buying another gerbil would solve that gerbil wheel problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'll buy another gerbil.
Oh my God.
I'll just go get it now.
So like I said, I put that promo up because we were kind of talking about AI before, and that was kind of one of the things like I really wanted to get with you guys because that's AI. Because we talked about the new Galaxy 2020, the 24 version. It's coming out, and it's going to have AI incorporated along with it to where it's going to have just where the translation thing where you can do it in real time. But that kind of takes it to where like your field. And like a lot of the research in that Brian does too. AI is absolutely a threat to anybody that's in the research of the paranormal thing because right now, you can show pictures. It's getting to the point where you can't even tell fake from real.
Oh, absolutely. I think that we're going to be actually going back in time. I think that it's going to get to a point where we're using old technology. The stone tape theory, the old recorders, going back to using compasses and going back to the bare bones of investigative work because AI is becoming so prevalent that you don't know what you're getting anymore. And unless you are there and you can videotape yourself gathering that evidence, nobody's going to believe it. And even then, as it stands, the technology is just getting too big. So, going back to the old camcorders, going back to the old Polaroids and all of that stuff, even though the quality of the evidence you're going to get is not going to be the same, at least you're getting something, right?
Yeah, because that's one of the things too, is just even as you're saying it, the problem with deep fakes is you could take just your transcript from this show alone, and if we wanted to, we could do a whole nother show and have a deep fake of you up here as a get and just interact and have the computer just spitting these things out, and majority of people would not even be able to tell the difference. You'd have people like Brian or Al, that know you, that would be like, wait a minute, that's not how Katie would answer that question. They would be able to be a clue on those. But if you're just doing like the basic questions, like, how are you today? Oh, I'm doing great. How are you guys? Nobody would be able to tell the difference between you now and that deep fake. And that is a huge problem.
I mean, we're using deep
TikTok.
Yeah.
Now
TikTok. And Craig right now is an AI. He's not real. He's just AI.
I kind of feel like it being on the drugs. I'm kind of floating.
Craig decided to experiment with some drugs prior to coming on the show.
I experimented with some Alka-Seltzer, severe cold and flu before the show. So, yeah, I think it's my turn. It's been going around the whole cruise. I think it's my turn, so to power through it. But that's
I like that. Whole thing. It's really interesting that people have been using it now. They've been showing you examples of old school technology on phones, cameras, what they see versus digital. It's totally, there is a big difference. What's being captured and what's not. And I think because of it's digital, it's kind of like you can't trust anything online because it can be edited at a whim. Like Wikipedia, great idea and concept, way too easy to edit. Blu-rays were great, but the problem is they can swap out whatever ending they want. The Blu-ray connects to the Wi-Fi or the internet, and then it retrieves the new information before it plays it. So you don't know what you're getting.
Well, that's just, with that, just how that, with the way that works. I mean, you're looking at it, it gets to the point to where you can have people that, you take them, the ones that are in the communities that, you have these mainstays that people you absolutely trust, but you can have somebody, just use me as like, say I really don't, me and Brian have a falling out and I want to just go after him. Well, I could deep fake this thing and I could post something on TikTok and just make him look like an absolute, just make an absolute mockery of him doing these things, and people are going to be like, holy crap, Brian really said that, oh my god, and it would actually blow up, and then the whole thing would come out, no, it's completely fake. This is and where right now with a lot of the infighting, and that's one of the things I wanted to give with you. Do you think this is going to end up being something to where somebody that's basically, for lack of better terms, they become enemies in these fields? They're going to start using this, like weaponize this thing to actually discredit the fellow people through there, just for the sheer fact of discrediting them, not the fact that they actually did something wrong. It's just basically it's an intentional sabotage.
Oh, undoubtedly. Yeah, I do. Because unfortunately, ego gets the best of too many people, right? And it comes down to who gets the evidence first. If, in my experience, I've seen certain teams go places. There's a local haunt that we go to, for example, and there's been a lot of people that have gone and investigated it, and it's quite well known. And they come back, there's nothing there. It's not haunted. It's a big farce. There's nothing there. And we go and we capture a ton of evidence. And they're coming back and saying ours isn't viable because they never received anything. So I don't put it past anybody. Ego gets involved, unfortunately, way too much. And again, I think we're going to have to go back to the bare bones of investigative work to get any answers, and maybe perhaps utilizing some of the modern day equipment and going back. And I use a lot of older equipment too. I mean, I experiment quite a bit. But using both pieces at the same time to gain it is going to gain that viability that in fact it's real, right? So you're getting multiple hits on the same piece of equipment. I think that through AI, as much as it can be all over the map, I think you're going to start to see patterns. People, serial killers, have patterns, and so will people who are generating deep fakes, because you're going to start to see how that works, right? It's going they're not going to think past.
Yeah, that's good.
So
That's a good point.
the cool part about the paranormal is it's never the same. You're never going to get the same hit twice. And I would love to speak to people who have, at that same moment, and we're not talking about residual energy. We're talking about going in different times, getting the same type of evidence the same way twice. It's not very usual.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something you brought up also, but when you use that as an example, like your group goes in and gets evidence, but the other group didn't get evidence.
Mm-hmm.
And you brought this up before. It all depends on who you are, your intention, and whether these entities want to, they may know something we don't know. They don't want you there, so they're not going to show themselves. Whereas you have a rapport, other groups have a rapport with these entities there, and they're like, just keep those guys out. We don't want them here, type of thing.
No, it's true.
And Cisco's there. Tell Katie I'm sending hugs and love her way. Please and thank you.
Thank you, Cisco. Yes. I appreciate
it.
There. Thank you.
And then Calvin, he put, and that's kind of one of the things too. It's like you can't repeat like you said, you can't do the exact thing. But it's one of those. That's one of the things like I'm really curious about. It's like, especially like I think the ufology and the ghost sides really have embraced, more along the lines of like the scientific side, because they've created like the SLS camera, that they've come through these things. And I'd like to see like the cryptid side do more of this, to where, especially as the communities are embracing this, like the transdimensional thing, there's got to be some way to detect, something like like a phase shift, energy shifts. There's got to be some way to be able to detect these things. And that's where I say I'd like to see people like with the science thing. I'd like to see this getting more embraced, because we're not seeing this side.
Right.
Well, this is why I've suggested, and I didn't mean to interrupt, Kate, as far as portals are concerned, portals or these different, zones opening up, there have been reports from other people who've been in the field that there is some kind of radioactive Geiger counter type of thing that can be detected. So I always highly recommend someone get a dosimeter, and you can get them online, because when that thing starts going off, that is definitely something out of the normal. And if it's in that radioactive X-ray zone, you're not going to pick up any of it. So that could be a tell right there.
I think it's important to be using multiple pieces of equipment at the same time too. I mean, a lot of us get the new gadget and we're excited to use it, and we're diving deep into it, but we're not kind of trying to come to conclusions with different pieces of equipment at once. So I think it's important, the more technologically advanced we are becoming, I think we still need to go back to that basis. And any scientific experiment, you want to get the repeat actions through your experiment, right? But using different pieces of equipment and correlating it. So for example, when I reverse engineered an SLS and made my own. And when I did that, not only am I putting that camera up and asking the questions, and I'm getting movement, but I'm asking them intelligent questions and saying, can you raise your hand? Can you sit down? Can you dance up and down? Can you do these things? But I'm also putting other pieces of equipment at the same time, whether it be a millimeter or, a REM pod or something that's going to kind of balance that out. So not only it could be a matrixing effect in the camera, but I'm also getting that double hit on another piece of equipment. And I think it's important. How do you, that's a little bit harder to fake. I mean, obviously there's ways to do it, but there's ways to fake anything. But I think that helps you come to a conclusion a lot easier when you've got these multiple hits going on at once.
Yeah. And that's kind of like I said, it's like, I'd like to see on the cryptid side in doing these things, because like you said, with the paranormal, they have so much equipment. You have like this redundancy. You have this multiple things going through here. You have these different things that are setting it off. And a lot of the stuff, like you'll get the reports on the cryptid side. I was out hiking. I experienced this. You're like, well, what else you got? I've tried to take this. I've tried to take it. And you're like, guys, do what the paranormal side is. Like, just like Katie said, she's got all this equipment. It doesn't take that much to bring this, set up these things. Like, if this spot I always go to always has this stuff, set the equipment up. Because if you can detect, like a radiation thing always happens, embrace that, keep going, because that's what's going to bring more people into the fold than just saying, I saw it. They're going to want something to it. And that's why I said the paranormal field has got that. And I'm like, I'd love to see that embraced.
I think too that, you know, and I'm not extremely well versed on the cryptozoology side of things. I have done some Bigfoot hunts. I've hunted some other cryptos as well, but I feel like we need to meld them together a little bit more. I feel like there's a physicality when people are going Bigfoot hunting. You know, you're looking for that physical 9 foot tall Bigfoot. You're looking for that, and you're not looking at it from an energetic perspective. And I'm sure there's investigators out there, Brian. I'm sure you have used energy pieces of equipment, paranormal equipment in your investigations, but I think if it could come more mainstream, as you said, Craig, I think it would make a difference. I think you're going to see energy movement. Take that SLS camera out there, all the while you're looking for that physical aspect. But there's a barrier there. I find that you know, when speaking to people hunting cryptids, you're like, yeah, I'm on this side of the fence, and the paranormal's like, I'm on that side. Very little, you know, rarely do they kind of mesh together. They have their respectability to each other, but they don't mesh, you know. And I think that if we could meld that, I think you would get a lot more results.
The problem you have is, and I've experienced it numerous times, a lot of people that have paranormal group, ghost groups, a lot of them do UFO stuff, and they do cryptid stuff. But if you do that, then you're not a ghost group. You can't. They don't understand that there is so much crossover in this field, in a lot of things. So in order to stop these pains in the ass from giving you crap, you have to create, like, you know, the ghost group, and then you have to create a Bigfoot or cryptid group, and then you have to create a UFO group. I mean, it's a pain in the ass because, you know, you don't want to sit there and spend, you know, an hour and a half, 2 hours trying to defend your work, which is justifiably good. I believe there is a common thread through all of this in only certain instances, but I mean, everyone is unique in their own, you know, so that's why you have to create these different groups. But I think the best product to use, always bring with you, besides a microphone, you know, everybody wants one of those, or a camera. I love FLIR. I love, you know, seeing the cameras, because it doesn't matter if you're cloaked, you still get caught unless you go interdimensional, and that's a totally different thing.
No, for sure. But I mean, why can't we, you know, it would be really interesting to encompass the FLIR with the SLS.
That would be great.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. And that's why I said, I'm just curious why. I mean, I know the cost. You know, there's a lot of people that you can't afford this thing. I mean, it's real easy to just head out the door and go walk, you know, hike. I mean, that's free. You know, it's just like a lot of the gear. You know, that's the money side. I mean, I get that with some people. It's like you can't do it. But man, I'd love to see this. You know, I'd love to see, like, the technology, like somebody start coming with some breakthrough stuff. Kind of like the guy, I can never remember his name. The guy that helped develop the SLS for paranormal.
Yeah,
I can't think of his name.
He
started out with Ghost Adventures. Like that's where it was really started to become mainstream.
I can't remember, but I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah,
I can see him, but I can't. But you know, another thing is, way back when, I forgot his name. That was on Ghost Hunters International. He was out of Ireland, and I'm friends with him. He's going to kill me. He came on with a special camera at one point. And when you take a picture on an investigation, this is why it was so special. There was 4 sensors in there. It took infrared, black and white, full spectrum, and I think there may have been a FLIR. At the same image, boom, boom, boom. It'd only be off like a little hair because of where the sensor is. We need that. You have that going, and somehow you can incorporate that SLS. There it is. You know,
his name, Bill Chappell.
Bill Chappell. Yep, that's it. Good job. See, God. That's why we brought her on, folks. We need to have somebody who's professional.
Can we get that?
Gotta have at least one professional person on the show.
Thing. Bing, Bill Chappell. It is.
Yeah. But you know what? Going back to kind of your equipment thing. I have spent years investing money and time into equipment, but I also I don't have a money tree, and I can't necessarily just go out and spend what I want. So I did a lot of research and kind of reverse engineered my own. I wasn't able to afford it. It was a few $1,000s when the SLS came out, American, and that everybody knows in Canada, that's a couple million here. So it wasn't as if it was something that I had pocket money to go and go shopping with. So I created my own, but I created a lot of my own equipment. I made my own EM pumps. I made my own portal box, and it's something that if you take the time and you have the patience, Google's a powerful thing. And if you really want to do something like that, you can create your own. So, and you can perfect it and tweak it the way that you feel like it could be. I did break down and buy a FLIR system, so I have one, but that was scrimping and saving to be able to do that. And we have used it when we have gone to certain investigations. As a matter of fact, we did we were doing a Bigfoot investigation, and we captured a cougar, and it was the cat. It wasn't the woman.
There was a joke. It's like, what was her name?
You were going there. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And so we it was kind of an incredible experience that we were able to capture that on the FLIR. We didn't see the Bigfoot, but we did see the cougar. And, so, I mean, it worked, right? It does.
And that's, yeah, I'm just thinking, like, how cool would that be? Just I got the SLS camera set up. I'm picturing the scene from Predator 2 where you got the multiple sweeps of the infrared, ultraviolet, and going through there. You're gonna see, and then all of a sudden here's Bigfoot twerking on a tree, and you're like, there he is,
right there.
Yeah, it's like, that's what, because it's one of those things. It's like with technology. Because we had a few shows ago, and that's what I said. It's like, it seems like with I hate using just like calling just ghosts, the ghost investigations, the paranormal, because there's so many things that are. But you have the ghosts, you have ufology. These things seem to be keeping up with technology. Like technology doesn't seem to be. It seems to be bettering these fields right now, because we talked about a few shows ago, one of the biggest things that seems to be a real problem is as technology advances, people have done the story, like there was somebody that wrote something, it was Bigfoot dead, because it was one of those things. As you have satellite imagery, you have infrared, you have all the stuff you're seeing, because I think one of the points that they made there is that it's either more of an elusive creature than people are making it out to be, or we got a serious problem, because this technology, we should start seeing something in the woods. If there's one walking around, a satellite imagery should be picking something up. Because because people say, well, if they spook, they would be cloaking. They'd be cloaked all the time then, because there's always something looking down. And so that's the part of the problem. It's like, as technology advances, the cryptid side is not keeping up, like with the evidence side. And that's one of the things. That's why when people are talking about portals and stuff, that's where I think incorporating stuff like this, so like going more on the tech side, trying different things to see if we can detect this. Okay, this is why we're not seeing it in this stuff. Because other than that, just a creature walking around, it's getting harder and harder to prove that one. Because like you said, with stuff, you should be able to spot something out in the woods.
Yeah, but okay, so I look at it a little bit differently than a lot of people. There's the people who feel that they're physical, and there's the people who
exactly,
feel
Laura.
beings. I have a bit of a theory. I think that a lot of times they show you when they want you to see them, or there's that accidental moment where they've kind of come through that veil and they're being seen. But I think for the most part they're in I don't want to say different dimension, but they're in a different vibration. And I think that if we started to treat Bigfoot and different cryptids as more of a paranormal stance in a different energy form, and go at it from a paranormal perspective, I think we're going to get more evidence. Again, we are three-dimensional beings looking for physical evidence. And I firmly believe that it's not necessarily a physical thing. It's more of an energetic thing that can, when you look at entities, when you look at paranormal, there's lots of people, there's been videos all over the internet, and I can't confirm or deny them, but, of people having these physical conversations with nobody there. And they're coming back and going, no, yeah, I talked to a woman and she came through, and, I thought she was a real being. So we have these full body apparitions that we perceive to be physical. We don't realize that they're entities. Why
Yeah.
is that not necessarily on topic with cryptids? And I think that, again, melding that paranormal to that physical evidence thing, I think we're going to get more answers. I would love to know, and again, please, if anybody in the audience can answer this for me, or you gentlemen, how many people have taken an SB7 or some sort of an EVP to a Bigfoot investigation to see if you're getting those hoots and calls without it being physical? And I'm sure that you're gaining that evidence that you're going to be getting those things through the SB7, and you may not physically hear it in time.
Yep. There's an Italian guy in the chat that did that.
Yeah.
We do this all the time.
Yeah.
We've always been old school, new school. We always think outside the box because you've got to keep trying things and you don't know what's going to hit. I always, with the old saying, throw like 15 balls up in the air, eventually one of them's going to stick.
Right.
But that doesn't make the normal, because at that one point it could be it. And all this does, when you get certain responses back, you're like, okay, cool, it answers this, but it may have done something different there. You have 15 other questions. There's no, I found a lot has to do with the greatest thing to take on any ghost investigation, cryptid investigation, any paranormal investigation is called this device right here. It's a Tibetan singing bowl.
Right.
This is the ultimate, because with this, when you start utilizing it with the pillow underneath it, watch what happens. It'll blow your mind. Best device ever.
Yep. Well, it's vibration, right? It's vibration. Yeah. So that vibration is what's bringing in. We've experimented with the two. I have one as well, and we've had really good results with it. Even changing the energy field in a location that we're investigating. If it feels bad, well, we can change the frequency. It's not even about communicating with spirit. It's actually kind of cleansing the ambient area.
Right. It's a very interesting, because it depends. Every once in a while I can catch someone's aura. Some people get it like, yo, you're a rainbow. What the hell's going on? You're a silver, you're gold. Sometimes people just like, it really lights up off of them, but that changes with your frequency. You could be really you could be red hot one moment, then you could be blue and purple. And you could take an area that's really, really been bad and just charge it, or you come into it and they know what kind of person you are prior to you getting there. They know what kind of person you are in your soul, your heart, your mind. And they're like, yeah, no, she's good. She's allowed in. But you two in the back, get the fuck out of here. We've been in that stuff where you take somebody out and they give you a bad vibe to begin with. They're scared, or there's someone has a bad vibe, and you don't get anything because they may not want to show themselves to that person.
Mm-hmm.
So
agreed.
Yeah,
sonar. That's what we need, sonar.
Well, that's kind of the stuff, even like with Nessie, there's, just as underwater technology is getting more and more advanced, it's getting harder and harder, especially when you have like some of these aquatic cryptids. It's like, there's only just so many places they can hide. And as things keep getting in more and more advanced, you're like, okay, it's getting less and less likely that something of that size might exist, that there might be some, there's got to be some other explanation, and we've got to find it. But right now, like I said, just the thing that's just swimming around underneath the lake is getting harder and harder to go with, because like you said, sonar, all this underwater technology that's coming up, even with drones, it's like I said, the hiding spaces are getting less and less. And that's the same way, like you've seen like sci-fi. I mean, it's getting that way too with drone technology. Like we're going to be able to do cave mapping, where we simply just release a drone and it's just going to go through and it's going to scan. I mean, I think Prometheus had something like that, where it was just like the light drone, they sent it through there and it kept shining the light, and it was just scan mapping. Yeah, I mean, that tech's coming, and it's just pretty soon. It's like even these ones that are rumored to be cave dwellers, it's going to be harder and harder to even buy that if that technology isn't finding anything, because then we have to go, like Kate said, okay, maybe it's not a physical creature. Maybe there's something on the energy side, something along this matter, to where and that's
something with the scotch in the water.
I drank a little much, and we saw the catfish. It's a Nessie.
Yes.
Well, they have. I find that the whole Loch Ness thing has become stagnant. Pardon the pun. But it's we're not getting any further ahead. There are some breakthroughs and there are some, sightings. But how many people have discussed whether it's actually a USO? How do we
Right.
know that it just didn't move one day to another spot? I mean, like, it's not like, to me, I've never seen a USO with a garage door opener, beep, going to the same spot when they come home
Yeah.
from work. It comes down to maybe they're relocating, maybe they're going to a different location, or maybe that happened to be an entrance to something. We don't know. And as you mentioned, those cave, the cameras and stuff like that could lead to learning more. But I honestly think a lot of these things, a lot of this technology is only going to lead to more questions.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that we are on the edge of understanding the paranormal world, supernatural world, but I think that with more technology becomes more questions.
And then you have to. One of the theories I had I was talking to Andy McGrath, who's out of the UK, who is the author of Beasts of Britain, and he's doing a whole Beastie series now. I said I've always thought that there was a some kind of system or a cave system, and there was a trench underneath there, just like you get in the ocean. And if you go deep enough in the trench, you're not getting pinged or sonared or anything. And that trench could lead across, because if you look where some of the sightings are of Nessie or sea monsters, it's pretty much on the same parallel. And it goes across, and I think into even Canada and Ogopogo. So it's not that far to stretch that this thing could be swimming to certain areas and then swimming back when it wants.
Well, that's kind of like, but as technique goes, if we're not finding these tunnels, these channels, that becomes harder, because we're going to get to the point to where underwater mapping is so readily easily, kind of like with casing. I just looked up for $299 now. You can buy a SLS camera setup.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so, that's the thing. What used to be a $5,000-$6,000 setup is now $299. It's going to be the same way with underwater mapping. You're going to have somebody that can buy this off Amazon for $69.99. They're going to drop it in there, and it's going to start doing a rudimentary mapping of the water surface.
So what if there's something that can be the creatures admitting, like there's a lot of infrasound with Bigfoot or these big cryptids, and if it emits an infrasound and it's able to do that and you're not hearing it, we already know through science and physics that certain sound waves are used in the process of transport. I was talking to Craig earlier about transporting things. They've done atoms, to certain from one point to another, and there are, whenever you change a material energy to another energy, there's byproducts of it. There's sparks, there's music, there could be tones. If that creature's under the water and just it naturally will go, play a sound, maybe something opens up and they go in it, and it's like a portal. The same thing with Bigfoot. I mean, I was flesh and blood until that creature went from point A to point B, which is 2 miles down the road, in an instant, and there's no other way out. I didn't hear it go in the water. It would have killed itself through all the goat trail we were on. So,
and see, that's where the tech side would be like so cool, having this stuff, because then, like you said, if you have the different meters and stuff with you, like you said, you have all this equipment with you, it'd be cool to see what at that point what was captured, what readings would be caught, what energy, if you have any energy spikes, you have any of this. That's where those things would be so cool to have along with those things, because then you'd have, as it did that, this meter I had on me went, just pegged off the chart, and as soon as it went down there, it just dropped off.
So let me ask you, relating to this question, the meters and all these different sensors, you're a very experienced researcher and investigator out of Canada, and have you ever had equipment, or any of your people in your group have had equipment brand new, just charged, everything's fine, whoop, you go in there, and the next thing you know, you turn it on and you get back out, it's like, oh, it's dead.
Every investigation. Had I known then what I know now, I would have been investing in batteries as the company, and probably would have made quite a lot of money doing so. All the time. I constantly bring stuff with us because of that. And sometimes, we'll be in for an hour, and we're an hour in, and bam, it's the batteries are gone, or there's malfunctions. There's a lot of malfunctions that happen as well. So they can manipulate the energy of that stuff when they're trying to manifest. That's why I reverse engineered the EM pumps and started making my own, because I was tired of them stealing my battery life. It was getting expensive. So yes, absolutely, they will do that. Some places more than others. I find that, and for those in the audience that maybe
Who is this Greg you keep referring to?
But I find that when the entities are at unrest, when they are, we'll call anxious, that's when I find that it's almost like an emotional, it's like an expulsion of energy. That's when I find our batteries are they get drained a lot faster. It's not, when they're simply having a simple conversation, I feel like it's pretty cool and calm. But in a traumatic time frame, or when I walk in and I'm downloading things on a psychic level, when you get to a certain point where things were very traumatic, or there was, something, they died very quickly, that's when I find that you're going to see that shift in the batteries. You're going to see them kind of, stealing that energy.
Yep. Batteries are huge. You go,
Craig is a dollar store knockoff of you.
Yeah. It's, every paranormal team needs that, that shirt sponsored by Duracell, or whatever the name for, do we have any batteries? We've got a whole truckload right now.
Yeah.
Energizer Bunny, isn't worth it. Keeps dying.
They send them into Livermore, and it's like, and it just drains.
I think money isn't in equipment anymore. Money is in developing batteries that don't drain by energy.
Yeah.
If somebody could create something like that, I think that there'd be a lot of money involved, right? Because these investigators want something that's going to last.
Yeah, because you talk about like the EM, those. But when you put those pumps out there, do you ever notice that you have a lot less likelihood of the rest of the batteries being drained?
Yes.
When you use those ones? Because it seems, because I've got a couple that I'm making, and it's one of those things too where it seems like when those are employed, those tend to be, those pretty much for all people, like these EM pumps is like a feeding station, is what the theory is that the spiritual side will use this to draw from, as opposed to your camera, your recorder, your voice recorder. And so so you have noticed that?
Absolutely. But it's something interesting. When they're applied, I find that the personal instances that we have on a parallel level is shifted. So through that, people may have physical symptoms like they have an upset stomach, they have a headache, they feel dizzy. Because of that EMF kind of, we'll call it a fear cage happening. You've got a lot of that EMP coming out. People are feeling sick. So although the equipment is more successful, your personal experiences lessen.
Okay, Ryan, you got to finish the joke there. You left us hanging there with that.
Right. So what you're saying is personal. Okay, so if the batteries are good, personal experiences go down.
Well,
they don't happen as much.
It's not so much the batteries are good. It's when you use the EM pumps. When you're using those, you've got those going. That vibe, you got magnet. Don't forget, it's magnets that are creating that, right? So through that, it's almost like a fear cage is being created through EMF. That EMF is heightened, and that's where fear cages come in, right? Too high of EMF can actually cause physical symptoms. So there are paranormal investigations that will go in, and they've got a lot of EMF happening, and it's simply a short in their furnace. It's, the electrical is off, or they live by, a hydro company. And so there's a lot of EMF coming off of that stuff. So, I find that you're dealing with your own physical symptoms more so than the actual experience that's happening through paranormal.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I brought it up. I wanted to bring up that picture again while I'm thinking about it too. For people, the one I referenced it again too, where the cat.
Yeah.
The cat picture.
Yeah, I mean it's really cool. Like I said, it's when they don't have a cat, and obviously there's something there, so that's not that one to be. Like I said, I don't really see like the pixel, pixelating because even if it was like a pixelation, what's causing the stare to be a different color?
Yeah.
So even if we make the case like it's not a face, it's not something, it's still the part that's really interesting about it is like, so why would there be another color? Like I said,
Right.
and it's not solid, so it's not like a light source as shown there. So there's something because distinction, but I mean, you can definitely looks like a nose, eyes, mouth. So it's one of those are some of the ones that are really cool because you look at it and you're like, we can get all the stuff that okay, it's not a light issue, it's not a something here, it's like, what is this? And those are the ones that are awesome.
So for those of you just joining, a little backstory really quick. That was an investigation that I did at a local residence with my team, and she thought that there was something demonic in her home and it was scratching her. And we'd gone into the house. She had priests in there blessing the home. She had lots of holy water. She had all sorts of stuff going, trying to keep herself safe. And her experience was when she got into bed, she would get these scratches on her legs. We went into the location. We started investigating and set up a bunch of equipment. I just so happened to snap that photo, an investigator sitting on the stairs with us. I snapped that with a cell phone camera. There was no special equipment used for that specific photo. And we captured that. But at the same time that we captured that, we also got an EVP of the cat meowing. So it wasn't until after we kind of presented this to her and we said, look, we think it's a cat. I'm getting it on a psychic level. We've got it on the equipment. The other investigators have witnessed it and heard it. We think potentially the cat's jumping up on you in the middle of the night. Calm down a little bit. The situation subsided and she wasn't afraid anymore. And she never really had any other bad instances with the cat. But that's what we captured. And it's a pretty stellar photo.
Now, was there any film of this incident too, or was this a photo still?
So that was a still photo, but we do bring in night vision and full spectrum cameras at the same time. And so through my static night vision cameras that we had set up, you could see us walking around and talking, and you saw me snap that photo. So it was kind of neat that way. We did not capture it on the night vision camera, but you could hear the EVP of the cat coming through. And everybody's saying, did you hear that? Did you hear the cat? So, you got your bases covered when you're seeing and picking up all of that.
But that's great, because if you really want evidence in this case, it's not just a picture or just an EVP. It's both. And it relates to the same moment in space time. So that kind of each item, like the picture proves the audio proves the picture, and then the video proves all of it because it's capturing all this. You want proof? That's great proof right there.
Yeah, and it's like, especially when you take like series of shots, that's one of those things like you'll see and all of a sudden it shows up and you're like, okay, right there, it's the same thing. So the lighting would all be the same, you'd have all the stuff. So why did this anomaly happen during this photo and not the other ones? Because that's one of those things I like. It's just more people just go snap, snap, snap. If you can do that, do those bursts, and then you have something, you're like, everything should be relatively the same environmentally. Lighting, temperature, everything should be identical. And so if you have an anomaly like that, that would stand out.
Absolutely. Yeah, when we take photos, my team and I, we are always kind of the understanding that you never snap one photo. If you're going to snap a photo, snap 3 to 5, boom, 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 boom. And that way you can go through it. And sometimes you're seeing the energy move. Sometimes you can see it moving, as it's kind of manifesting, it's shifting in its ambience, and you can see that. And that's pretty cool. I think we get so micro-focused on what we're doing that we're not grabbing all those different pieces of evidence. Each when we go to investigations, each member of my team has a different piece of equipment and we use it simultaneously. So one will take the Ovilus, one will have the SLS, one will have, and we'll use that all together to see if we can get the same or similar evidence on different pieces of equipment at once, all the while having the static night vision cameras capturing that and somebody carrying a video camera to capture us. So there's many different angles. I get frustrated. I know that television portrays the paranormal very different, But I get
Mhm.
frustrated when I see these people, you know, did you hear that? Did you see that? No, Dave, we didn't hear it or see it. Like,
Right.
try to get more camera footage. Like, you know, so and it's not always about production for television, but the bottom line is if you're going to create an experiment like that, if you're going to try to investigate, try to get as many angles as possible, because it's only going to help you in the end.
Oh yeah, I love the whole. You hear that? It said I'm going to kill you. No, no, it actually
Yeah.
didn't. All you got was this this charble thing. No, it did not say you were going to die. I'm like,
Well, you know, a lot of people, when they have something like that lady was talking about scratching, I mean, the first go-to, anything strange, like cabinets banging or whatever, it's demonic. You know, it's like, it may not be demonic. And I personally, I don't like playing with that end of the spectrum. I think it, you know, it's a way above my pay grade. There are other people more suited for it. But sometimes, have you ever encountered situations where it, you know, of course it's not demonic, but you somehow connected to the spirit that was doing it, and they were trying maybe tell somebody something, but they weren't paying attention?
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
we had a woman contact us that was very fearful in her home. And we went to the location, set up equipment. I went and did my psychic walk around, got my impressions, and we started the investigation. And I was walking from down the hallway from one room to another, and I walked into the entity's bedroom, we'll call it, okay? And as soon as I walked in, I felt and I saw the image of a throat being slit, and I felt the pain come across my neck, and it threw me back, and I was kind of grabbing my throat because it felt real. And I was like, that is not going, you know, I'm looking like going, what did I walk into? Obviously, there was nothing physical that happened. It was more of the imprint, but it instantaneously made me angry. And I thought, you don't have the right. Like, I pushed it out and said, that's not cool. And it took me a minute, but then I started getting downloads of what had happened, and he wasn't trying to hurt me. The entity couldn't speak because, unfortunately, he was murdered and he had his throat slit. And what he was trying to do was put me in that position so that I could understand what was going on. Now, a little bit of a backstory on that investigation. She kept hearing growling, which she thought was growling sounds. And she thought that, you know, every time she'd walk into the room, she heard this like deep guttural sound. And really what it was the limitation of this entity. In death, he didn't think he could speak because of the trauma he experienced as he died. All he was doing was making these guttural moaning sounds. And so he wasn't trying to hurt her. It wasn't about growling like it was something demonic, although she thought, and understandably so. It was really just him trying to communicate. And once we were able to open that communication, he explained that he was stuck. He explained that he couldn't, you know, through telepathy, he was explaining these things to me, and we were able to help him. And he kind of moved on at that point. There was no more activity. So not everything is as it seems. So, and also, it's not every little innocent girl that you walk into an investigation is an innocent little girl. You know, sometimes
Exactly the point.
Where it can be something malevolent, but not everything is demonic. You know, in my experience,
No.
I have experienced demonic entities, but it's a lot rarer than they give it credit for, but it does exist.
Yeah. I mean, I always, you know, it's always that, you know, we were in the house. It's a beautiful house. And this little girl came down and said, you want to play ball? And the next thing you know, there's blood, you know, spewing from the walls. I'm like, I get little girls or, you know, and it's not little boys. It's just little girls on Paranormal Investigations. Like, dude, cross up right now. Let's go. Get the crosses, because that's the most innocent thing you're going to get. Mm-hmm. And if something is evil, that could very well be the route they're going to take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm taking care of a troll on the
we have a troll
thing right now. Yeah. We got somebody that's one of those, like, you know, I'm drawn to you. Please message me for readings. Yeah.
Yes.
Because it's
sent that to somebody in this chat right now. That I get you have no idea. That and witches spells. What love spell will you want? I don't want a love spell.
There's so many people scamming right now. I get so many, you know, whenever I do readings for people, I don't take any information from them. I don't want to know their full name. I take a first name, last initial, and a phone number. And I asked them, please don't contact me. Don't send me any information, nothing until 5 minutes before the session. If we're doing it virtually, and if I'm meeting them in person, obviously I don't know this person. But I'm so surprised at the amount of people that are taken by these things. I knew of a lady that was over $30,000 she spent on somebody who like literally had her going. It's very sad. And they basically duped her. And it's from these people reaching out. A psychic is not going to call you. I try to explain that to people. A psychic is not going to call you. You are going to call the psychic. And so all of those things are scams.
Well, but they told me they were powerful and they knew that I needed them, and that's why they called me.
Right.
It's like, hey, you get these people. It's like, it's I don't know. I kind of liken it to the same people that fall for the lottery scams.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you won this lottery. You know, it's like, did you enter that lottery? No, then you didn't win.
Yeah, but I have a Nigerian cousin that says I did.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Always being a jackass. Ask me
no, it's.
And I said,
I was. I know Brian disagrees with me, but with like the demonic, I've always just been like myself. I've always just felt you have to open yourself up to really be affected by this, because I'm one of those. I just like an investigation. People like, you got to ward yourself. You got to go through all this stuff, and I'm like, no. I honestly think you have to, like you said, if you go on investigations, you say, use my energy. Well, see, you just invited him in. I mean, it's like if you get something happens to you, that's on you. But if you just go walking in, like, I want to see the pictures, I want to see, I guess, I don't think I don't in any way believe I'm going to come home with a demon attached to me from the investigation, because it's one, I don't really, like you said, 99% of these things are not demonic. The lords of hell are not infesting some little small house in a small town in Ohio. That's, there's no significant, importance to that. And so I go, this one, most likely that's going to happen is, you might have something that's, an angry spirit, but most of the time, I always use a joke. I just think it's grandma that's mad that you moved all her dishes.
Yep.
And she wants you to stop, and that's, so that's always been mine. So I'm not sure what your thoughts are on how easy it is to become demonically possessed or possessed by something in an investigation.
Well, we have to remember that demonic is a Catholicism word, right? If we want to even base it even further, depending on what you believe in, I like to go back to malevolent energy. In the cases some of the demonic cases, we'll call it, that I've worked on, they were Catholic people. They were, that was their belief system. And so it really comes down, do you believe consciously or subconsciously it must be invited in? So, you talking about going to an investigation and wanting to see those things, you literally have just invited it in because that was a request that you had, that was the active intent of you wanting to see that. Having said that, I think that, when you go into something like that, I'll give an example. When I do cleansings, okay, people call me all the time to do cleansings. And I go in, I don't charge for anything like that. It's something that I think is sacrilegious, quite frankly, to charge and make money off of. So, but I will go in and do my best to ease people's pain, to put their mind at rest and cleanse the area. And I try to explain to people that when you call somebody else for help, that's not a bad thing. That's a beautiful thing. But you're relinquishing your energy, you're relinquishing your power, because you obviously don't feel powerful enough to get the job done. And so when I go through the cleansing process, I take them with me and explain how it needs to be done. There was one of the biggest demonic cases I ever worked on was it actually knocked a woman down the stairs and broke her legs. It did a lot of things. And, I said to her, Jesus himself could come down and say, be gone, evil spirit. But until you have the active intent and belief system that it's powerful, that's not when it's really, that's when it's going to take effect. And I think going back to what you said, Craig, it is important. You don't have that fear. And so that in itself is protection. The more that we fear, the more that we're, uncomfortable, that level of fear, it kind of opens that doorway. Now, I'm due diligent in what I do. I have been doing this for 22 years now. I have tried to protect my team and protect myself. And I will tell you that even though, we take these steps, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And I have had experiences that were quite intimidating that I, quite frankly, never want to experience again with malevolent energy. To call it whatever you want, demonic or malevolent, the bottom line is we were affected. And so I try to explain to people that, not to take a lot of this stuff lightly. Unfortunately, television has a funny way of making things look entertaining until it happens to you.
Right.
Oh yeah.
So you wake up with a spirit over your bed, spitting at you or something.
Well, my head hasn't done any spinning, but or I haven't, barfed any pea soup. However, there has been some stuff that's happened, and so I worked a case a couple of years ago that the kid actually ended up dying. He was dead. He died. He felt that he had an attachment, and he had gone to a therapist, he'd gone to a psychiatrist, and his family couldn't understand it. He had insomnia, and that's what the therapist had chalked it up to. You're just not sleeping properly. And he said, I can't sleep. When I sleep, something comes at me. And they tried to medicate him. It didn't work. They tried to give him therapy, and it didn't work. And he had a lot of mental health tests, which he passed with flying colors. He did a stint in a mental health center, passed with flying colors. And he had said to his parents, he was 21 years old. He said to his parents the night before that, he was afraid. He felt something coming for me, and he did not wake up in the morning. They did an autopsy. They could not find a cause of death.
That's insane.
I'm a firm believer that it took him. I am a firm believer. And what he described to me was malevolent, demonic in nature.
May I ask where you think he went or he was taken?
So, he did go to a couple haunted locations, and he did take a Ouija board with him. And there was a bunch of kids that were all affected by it. Now, he was the only one that passed, and he was the one with the biggest attachment, but they were all messing with things that they didn't understand.
What do you think? Speaking of Ouija boards, what do you think about the new Jesus Ouija board?
Oh, that's
is that real or is that fake?
Jesus.
Communicate with Jesus. Yes.
You know what? I think that if I think they're going to start personalizing it now. That's just the first step. They're going to sell one for, want to communicate with grandpa. You want to communicate with old Roy, your dog. They're going to, it's just money. It's all about money, right? It's the active intent.
Right. What about,
because you can buy it on, I'm bringing it up on Amazon to show people, you can buy it on Amazon right now.
You can
for the low price of $29.95. You can communicate with your Lord and Savior right now.
I mean,
the Holy Spirit board.
Say Jesus.
Yeah.
Communicate directly with Jesus Christ. Doesn't Jesus look happy?
The Holy Spirit looks really pissed the fuck off. That doesn't look like a happy Holy Spirit.
Now, is that the Holy Spirit or is that supposed to be Jesus? I'm not sure. But yeah, see the planchet's a cross.
You shall not pass.
Right.
I just like the part that it says you do say goodbye, Jesus. To close it out, you have to say goodbye to Jesus. That's one of the best parts.
You have to say goodbye to Jesus. Let's say some kids are playing with us. They come back from the family church, and they're like, let's go talk to Jesus. And they open something up, and they think it's Jesus, but it's not Jesus. How are they supposed to close that if they're opening it or they're playing with it? Is there a specific way to close it, or it depends on each individual circumstance?
No, I think that no matter what you do, a Ouija board or a spirit board, Ouija board is the brand, right? We'll call it spirit board.
Right.
Is an act of divination, but it's simply a piece of wood and a planchette. So it's the active intent of that communication. Now, when I kind of educate people about this, I often talk about, when you pick up a phone to call someone, you have an intent of a number in mind. And so you dial the number to call that specific person. And with a Ouija board, I like the way they're playing it with Jesus. Contact Jesus directly. But unless you had Jesus's phone number, how do you know you're actually getting him? It's like dialing out a number of anybody. And just because the board says it's got Jesus on it, it doesn't mean that's what you're dealing with. Having said that, after communication, it's important that you do shut the board down. Like a telephone, you want to hang up the phone, and so you would hang up communication at the same time.
Now, in hanging up communication, are you just taking the planchette off the board and putting it away? Or
No,
is
I
there
think,
like
yeah,
saying something? Or
it's an energy transfer. So whenever we do, it's the same with table tipping or EVP sessions. Basically, we say goodbye, like, we're done, and kind of energetically we shut the door. You can envision it certain ways, like shutting a light switch off, hanging up a phone, closing a door, shutting a vehicle off, turning a dial down. But you're kind of putting that act of intent of shutting things down to kind of close that off. My advice, I'm a horse person, and I tell people, if you don't want to fall off, don't get on the horse, because it's only a matter of time that something's going to happen. It might be minor, it might be major, but it's not something to be playing with lightly.
Yeah.
No, I put it up there while you guys are talking too. It's I've thought about getting the Ouija board planchette Funko Pop, having it up here on the shelf behind me.
Hanging it up on the stuff.
Yeah, I think it's so adorable. It's just add that with the rest of the stuff.
I think too, there's a little bit of play on words, and forgive me if I'm incorrect, but I do believe that in some of the biblical texts, it's actually sacrilegious to be communicating, doing any acts of divination. So I find it ironic that you can, connect with Jesus when they actually don't want anything like that, right?
Right. But what about
But what about when you want to make money?
Yeah,
like televangelists,
right?
Right?
Here's one: personalized Ouija boards. You can get your auntie passed away 5 years ago. You can get auntie's name on it.
Yep.
Grandma.
Well, I'm not sure if it's real, but have you seen that meme that went around for a while where the old lady passed around the things, basically to reach out to her, after she passes, reach out to her beyond the grave. She has encouraged everybody to, it was like a thing, for seances and stuff like that, to, drop in some time and let's talk. Yeah, it was, so I thought that was kind of funny.
I think that there's many ways that you can do it. You can do it with a simple candle if you really want to communicate with somebody. Natural elements are one of the best ways of communication. So I say light a candle, let it kind of, let the wax get wet a little bit, and then follow the flame, find its natural ambience, and then start asking questions. And a lot of times entities can use that natural element to communicate. They can waver the flame, they can make it go higher, lower, swirl it in circles. But I encourage people that if you're going to try anything like that, that you take the time to surround yourself in light and love and protection, ask for that protection, but also call the person by name. Imagine yourself dialing them on the phone. If you want to talk to, aunt, uncle, husband, dog, sister, brother, father, mother, say their name, put that image in your mind that that's who you're connecting with, and just hope that that's who you're connecting with.
Yeah. You never know. You never really know. You can't know. It's like there's not a hello, my name is sticker on the entity that's coming into your house.
Yeah. Psychics also, I find in the industry, they're very absolute about how death works and going to heaven and going to these places. And this is what happens. And I can only speak from, I'm simply a messenger. And I think being energetic and understanding the higher vibrations is a good thing. But I can't with absolution say that you're going to go to the pearly gates and you're going to see Jesus, or I can't. It would be an ignorant assumption to assume that I know that without a shadow of a doubt. But I feel like, there's too many psychics out there that are kind of talking in that absolution. I can only speak from what the entities tell me and pass that knowledge through, but I can't say, 100% that's what happens. Like when you die, this is what happens, because let's face it, we don't know. It's the same as paranormal investigating. We can only show you the evidence we've captured. We can only show you, as much as we have.
So one more question. Yeah. Sorry, Craig.
No, you're good.
I had my hand up first. So when you do a reading for somebody, and because we're talking about boards and we don't know who we're talking to, but you get a reading and Grandma May comes in, or whatever says it's Grandma May, how do you discern if it really is Grandma May or not? Or can you? You know what I'm saying?
Yep. So what I try to do is I ask for a download of an image. So in my mind, and I will try and get the image. And then a lot of times what I'll do is, quite honestly, I'll say to the person I'm reading, do you have a picture of them? And if that's the image that comes through, I'll say that's her. If it's not the image, I'll say that's not who this person is. And then I will start asking very personal questions. Not personal as inappropriate, but things that there's no way I could possibly know. A lot of times, my clients will say, do you have a nickname, or what? I will go to a specific photo of something that somebody was wearing, and I'll say, can you find the photo, or can you see this, or a piece of jewelry that's very specific to them. And the more specific that I can get, the more we kind of know who we're dealing with. I find a lot of times, if it is a walk-in, if it is something malevolent that's trying to trick us, they can't get those specific. They can't. They just can't do it. And I've had to block a lot of that stuff out. But no, the more specific I find that these entities get, the more authentic I know they are.
Gotcha. It's interesting that you said that sometimes they can't get that. They can't get the specific details.
Yeah.
Like why? That's actually very. I got to think about that for a while. Why that is? Is it because you're no longer tethered by a tether between source, or where you're supposed to be, and then Earth? When you're alive, you have that. Versus now, you're already you literally are part of the machine, so they have no way to tap into the line. That's a very interesting. It's very out left. So
yeah, I think that we have to look at, from my experience in speaking with a lot of entities, this is simply a chapter in a book. We're not finished writing the book yet. And so each life is a chapter. And so you don't forget that chapter, but you're not in that chapter anymore. And so when you've crossed over from all of the things that I've gotten, you basically wake up. We suffer from an amnesia on this side, as they explain it to me. And so, that awakening, it's like you've watched that chapter or read that chapter, you understand it, but it's you're reading the next chapter and you're going on to the next thing. So you have that memory, and that's how they're able to kind of tap into it.
Yeah, no, it's it's interesting because it's because I've often wondered that too, because it's just there's no really way to, when you see these Ouija board things, there's no real way to know what exactly you're communicating with. When you're doing seances, it's because it's all, pretty much, like I said, you're having to take the word of this stuff. Obviously it helps when you have somebody like yourself at one of those things where you can actually get more of those visual pictures. But like myself, I was just open up, let's hold hands, let's do a seance. I have no idea what I'm communicating with. It's Bob with his pants off, pretending to be grandma. I mean, it's like, I have no idea. I'm thinking man, that was such a great conversation with the grandma. And meanwhile, I just, Omegle got trolled.
Every single one of us, I have yet to meet a perfect psychic out there. I've yet to meet a perfect doctor, a perfect person for that matter. Every single one of us has had an instant where we've been duped, tricked, given errors in information or lack of information. I have yet to meet a person that hasn't had a communication where they were, there was a time where they were manipulated about something at some point. So don't look at it as if you don't you don't have the abilities, or you're automatically going to be dealing with something that's maybe not what it is. We've all been there. We've all fallen off of our bike. We've all, tripped and fallen at some point. It's not as if we're intending for that to happen, but it does happen. Mistakes happen. But I think, Craig, that, the more that you tap into that energy field and the more you practice it, the more concise you're going to be. And so it comes down to almost like a game of charades, where at the beginning, when I started doing this, a lot of the things that I was given or downloaded, I didn't understand what they were trying to tell me. But through the repetition of doing more and more readings, I became confident with what they were trying to explain to me. And so it kind of, it's almost like we were able to find a language that we both understand. And so I really think that if you tried more and you put it out there, I feel like you would probably gain a lot more insight, and you would start to be confident in the things that you're getting.
Yeah. Yeah. There's not A lot of high vibrational beings wandering around waiting for teenagers to pull out the game board.
It's true.
You want to smoke weed tonight? No, let's go talk to Jesus. Okay.
Yep, yep. Which one?
Or
Which one you
you
want to
can
talk? You want to talk to
and
Zozo, or
talk
you want to talk to Jesus? Which one do you want to talk to?
Grandma, Jesus, Grandma, Jesus.
Zozo, Jesus. Zozo, Jesus.
What if we use the cross crucifix on Grandma's board?
Does it just burst into flames?
Yeah, it's like
I just thought of the best Ouija board ever, the party line.
the party.
There you go.
Maybe I'm dating myself, but when I was a kid, it was a party line, right? The neighbor would pick up if you're on the phone too long.
Oh yeah, you'd hear the click, and all of a sudden you just hear down the line. You'd hear,
Hi,
everybody's pick it up because they want to listen in.
call this number to talk to real teens or whatever it was.
Oh, God.
Party
No,
line.
but that's just crazy. That's just speak to Jesus, Holy Spirit board. Yeah, somebody would just like I have a way of because you just got people. It's like, well, obviously if blah 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 preacher says it's okay, if it says Jesus on the thing, so it must be fine.
I'm just asking everybody that's listening that has either themselves or they know somebody in the family that wants to play the Ouija board, especially like young kids, that if they have their friends over and they're playing with the Ouija board, you need to be the higher person to go out to the fuse box and start flicking it on. Okay. That's what your job is.
And turn the
Just have
temperature
them start
way down.
screaming. Yeah. Play with the thermostat. Like, oh my God, it's getting so hot in here. And burn something foul. Like something with sulfur. Oh my God, it's sulfur. It's sulfur. Trust me, you can have a blast with this.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yes. That would be insanely fun.
Next thing they're going to have a Talking to Jesus app.
I just have this vision of Jesus talking like Stephen Hawking. Praise the Lord, my son. It's like
No, this is going to get me in trouble with some people. I just know it is. Now, is this sacrilegious? A Jesus chia pet.
Jesus chia pets. That's great. That
Grow
is
your own
just,
Jesus.
Yeah, where you basically just have a figurine on a cross and you grow the chia seeds on. I was like, who's coming up with this stuff and who's buying these things? Oh my God. Yeah, this I'm gonna get in trouble.
well,
Yeah.
you know what? I don't know.
It doesn't get much better. It doesn't get much worse than that one I shared a long time ago with the
What happens if
the guys
Jesus really-
that went to the museum and there's a picture of Jesus on the cross and MCA.
Which guys?
Those big.
You pissed off Jesus, Craig.
I know, and I got shuffled.
You got
hanging out, so leave him. It's Jesus him hanging out, so leave a message.
That's it. Jesus.
That's.
This is.
I'll see if I can find this picture. I'll see if I. Oh, here
we
it
got
is.
Here
it is. Here it is. Just so that way people don't have to. It's with caption. I'm going to hell for presenting this, and yes, I am. Yes, I am.
That is so bad. Not as bad as I have a friend who became a priest. And another one of our friends thought it would be funny to give him a Jesus on the cross that also had a bungee cord on it and it was hanging upside down. Like
I have that. It's like bored with the regular Jesus, spice up your wall with the bun Jesus.
So actually, when Pat says, "Dude, this is what Mitch gave me," and I was like, "I got to be honest, Pat. This is I'm cracking up at this. This is freaking awesome." He got it. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what he got.
Bored with the regular Jesus, spice up your wall with the bun Jesus.
I don't know. There was somebody that came out. I don't know. I forgot where I heard it, but like Jesus comes back, and is he going to be like, really? That's what you will use as a symbol for me? Are you out
Yeah.
of your minds? You know, I would want something different, you know.
No, and see, the more that people say you're going to get in trouble, it's like, man, if I was going to do it, I would have been struck by lightning a long time ago.
Welcome to Florida.
The night ain't over yet, there, Craig.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, yes. Laura's like, does 3 Hail Marys and she's not even Catholic. Yeah, no, that's the.
I'll light a candle for you.
I think it's one of those things that most people, when they say it's terrible, I'm like, there's got to be something in the thing. It's like that's out of the humor side. It's not so much. But I mean, if we were any other religion, we'd be dead.
Yeah, there's a couple of religions that wouldn't.
Yeah, you couldn't show the pictures we did. If luckily Christianity's not that way, or else we would be in trouble.
Well, it's interesting.
I'm not going to show those pictures. But those things are out there, but I'm not going to show those pictures. I'm not looking for that. I'm not looking for that heat.
Check out Jesus' OnlyFans page. Just saying. No.
We're not doing that. That's even worse.
These are stupid things. I've had the same conversation we're having right now. I've had many years ago, drinking beers with my buddies because in the park, hanging out, we didn't have houses to go to, and like someone brought up, what if Jesus comes back and instead of saving everybody, he tries to be a stand-up comedian, and that just triggered a whole other ball of wax. I just left the Coliseum, and boy, my arm's tired. It just was crazy, but yeah, we're gonna get in trouble tonight.
Oh yeah, you'd have.
Sorry, Katie, our guest.
It's all good.
The views of the host are not necessarily the views of the guest on the show.
Views of Three Beers podcast do not reflect in any way Katie Turner nor Katie Turner Psychic. These are their views and their views alone.
Yes.
So hey, let's change it up here before we get in any more trouble.
Sure.
All right. Oops. There, we don't need that picture. We can see that. Everybody's seeing that one here. I need to click the other one.
Oh.
I need to click the other one. That one.
Okay.
All right.
My gerbil's not running.
So what do you see in that rearview mirror?
Okay, so really interesting story. That is a local haunt that we've investigated called Buck Hill. And it is a haunted road in the middle of nowhere. It's a very high elevation. And there's been many sightings of lights, orbs. There's an old urban legend there that of a little girl walking up a hill, or a little girl got lost. Her father's looking for her. None of that we were able to substantiate whatsoever. All of that is urban legend, but it is quite haunted. We investigated with the police. We've investigated, done television documentaries up there. I have no doubt in my mind that it's haunted. So we had gone up one particular night, and I had been snapping a bunch of photos, and that came up. And it was an entity in the car in the back seat. And that rearview mirror, we were standing outside of the car, or I should say it was actually a van at the time. And that's what we captured. We left an audio recorder in the vehicle. We all had one on us. We left one inside the vehicle, and we got an EVP at the same time. And it said, hello, can anyone hear me? Yeah. So it was really neat that we were able to capture all that at the same time. Now, years later, I'm going to say 10 years later, we hosted another paranormal team. They came in and asked us if it's not as if we own the rights to this location, but because we're kind of the local investigators, people kind of ask us if we can take them up there. And so we brought them up there, mentioned nothing of this photo, and they captured the same thing. So it was really interesting. We had gone back many times after to try and debunk that. Could it have been a person? Could it have been a shadow? Could it have been, a coat on the headrest? Could it be all these things? And we could never come to a conclusion. But they had captured that about 10 years later. And we were with them when they captured it. So we know that they're legit and the image was natural, and they got the same thing.
Did you compare yours versus theirs?
Yeah.
That must have been really
interesting. It was it creeped them out. They were quite intimidated by it. We've never had any issues with that, but it was certainly something that didn't look, it actually looked more extraterrestrial in nature. It didn't, if you look really close at it, it looked more extraterrestrial, almost alien-like, rather than paranormal. In the industry, they're
the
very
eyes
absolute.
yeah.
Bring the picture back there.
There's something in the eyes area that
Almost
there's
reflective.
something weird there. Yep.
And I played with that image. I know, Craig, you love the red circles, so the red circles are in there for everybody. But you know, I played with hints, tints, hues, brightness, contrast. I had put it into a program to see if I could kind of figure out what it was, and we can't come to a conclusion as to what it is.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting when that happens and you get it after the fact, like you've driven back home or you went to get some coffee or a diner afterwards, and someone like, oh, I forgot to take, you know, and they take, sometimes if you hold the volume button and some other button on your phone, you take a picture, and you know that does happen. Then after the fact, like, what the hell was this in the back of the car? You know, just playing around.
Yeah. No, it was pretty neat. That night, we also, the windshield of that van was smashed.
Oh.
Yeah. So that photo, I sent you 2 photos, Craig. That one is, that's a closer version. So I'm curious as to what everybody thinks about this. You know, again, I'm not somebody that just snaps photos and, you know, thinks that it's a capture. There's other things that went on at the same time. But I'm curious if anybody else sees what we think we captured.
Yeah, because it's, for me, like I said, it's one of those I can definitely see, like on this one, I could basically, I'm not, you know, without influencing everybody, I can see what kind of looks like a face, you know, here, you know, with eyes and stuff here, but it's one of those, it's kind of like that, you know, the word everybody loves, the pareidoia, where your mind tries to create order out of chaos. If you look really closely right here, I see another thing that would look like a face. Because I see a chin right here, a mouth, pointed nose, eyes. If you did right here, that would be a face.
I got to be honest, it looks a little bit dollish, but I'm looking at the object to the right, the tree, which looks like a tree or some kind of something there.
Eyes, nose, mouth.
Then I'm not talking about that as an eyes, nose, mouth. I'm talking that's more pareidolia in my opinion. What I'm saying is the size of the subject is really large compared to what that other, you know, ideally that's a branch or a tree of something. Now, granted, I don't know what it could be, just be a bush, and it looks thicker because you're closer up, so you look like it looks like a bigger type of plant or tree. But I mean, if that's the case, then this is a pretty big, you know, head. Like this is like, you know, a ginormous, like, you know, mega mind.
So, Craig, can you go back to that original photo? Because that's just a zoom in of that. So that's the original photo.
That's still pretty big in relationship to what that tree is. If you really consider it, and it does look like a head and a little bit more like a doll's head. I've seen a doll like that before. But like one of those like abnormally large dolls that kids used to have. I think they have them now. I think they have like I know they have American Girl dolls or something. They're like, you know, stupidly expensive for, you know, garbage. It's kind of like a third of what a kid would be, a real kid. Yeah, that's a pretty big head. If that's
like April saying, like nature. I mean, that's the thing about, especially like looking at these things. There's never like, is it something or is it something? It's like you can't tell. I mean, is it likely that it could just be the pareidoia, like the mind creating order out of chaos? Because like I said, when we zoomed in there, I can see like 4 or 5 different spaces where you can make a case for it. There's a face in that. But at the same time, like what April was just saying, like what you guys, there actually could be something that's manifesting, using the environment to create, you know, to manipulate it to show order, you know, how ghosts and spirits, you know, are rumored to have done. And that's one of the things, is like you can't dismiss it out of hand, but at the same time, it's one of those things too where it's one of those, for me, this is the one that you set aside, and through the rest of the investigation, when you actually find something like if you come through there, it's like, oh yeah, we see forest spirits all the time here, and they like to take the fog, they like to take the stuff and manipulate it and stuff. Then you can start bringing those things back. But like I said, I definitely, I don't know if that's what you guys see, was the face right there.
Mm-hmm. So I'll explain that a little bit. So again, as I said before we had gotten into the photo, I do multiple things at once. And so we got an EVP at the same time. Okay. And it was actually, it was a Class A. We actually heard it. It was audible. We heard it. And it said, "Can you see me? Can you see me?" Yeah, can you? I can't remember if it was. There was two of them. So there was. I can't remember if it was a rearview mirror that said, "Can you see me?" or "I am here." One of them said, "Can you see me?" and one of them said, "I am here." And we had captured it at the same time. And all the while we had REM pods going, and they were going off. Now, a little backstory in that photo further. There was no fog. There was nobody smoking. There was no dust in the camera. There was no, nobody had driven by and put dust up. There was no wind at that point. Everything was clear. And we had taken multiple photos. And in those photos, there was 2 to 3 of them that came up with that foggy kind of ambiance. Now,
that's cool. The
reason why I chose that photo was because I wanted to kind of show the audience the different spectrum. So the cat photo there was no shadow, and it's almost like energy formed a shadow of a face. And in this photo, it was through the fog. There was lack of shadow to show the face. And so people kind of get it in their head as to how a certain entity is going to appear. Well, they're always going to look like that. Sometimes you can have, it's almost like the opaque side of things, where you're seeing the contrast that a shadow comes up and creates it, or it's the lack of. Make sense?
Right.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
and see, that's the cool part. It's like I said, you could dismiss. That's kind of like where, like for me, the investigation side is so cool about it, is because, like, me and Brian talked about this stuff like off the show too. Is a lot of people will just, without the context, they'll pop that picture up there, and then immediately it's like I said, and people get defensive and stuff like that. It's like, no, when you present something, if you don't present all the information that you had before, like what you just did, the only thing people can infer is what you've presented to them. If you just show this picture, it's really easy. Like I said, it looks like it's fog. It looks like it, matrix thing, thing from the photo of the fog. But when you added that whole thing, that adds a whole nother scope to it, because it's clear. But when we snap the photo, that's what's in the photo. This appeared in the photo, where the other photos don't show this. So what is this? That's a completely different scenario. But if you don't include that, a lot of people get so defensive. Like, what do you mean you don't see the face? I see the face right here. You guys are just trolling me. Well, that's because you didn't include that critical information along with this, and you can't get mad at the observer if you didn't give them that info, because like as soon as you did it, that makes it completely, there's a completely different take on what you're seeing in the photos, especially when like I said, you've done the series of snaps.
Right. I think it's our jobs as investigators to get this stuff. This is where maybe it's semantics, but I'm a firm believer there's ghost hunters and there's paranormal investigators, and ghost hunters are kind of for that self-satisfaction of getting that evidence for themselves. We look at ourselves a little differently, that we're trying to help others. So we do a lot of residential cases. And when we go into residential cases, it's our job as the investigator to gather, produce, and show as much evidence as we have gathered. So if you're not, if you look at it from a private detective's, standpoint, or a lawyer in the sense, your job is to prove evidence. Your job is to kind of, whether it's real or debunked, your job is to come to that conclusion. So, I'm going to do everything in my power to kind of correlate and gather all of that evidence to present it to you. I can't convince you that this is what it is, but with that evidence, you can come to your own conclusion. So for me, that's why I don't show a lot of stuff on the internet. We do have a website, but I'm not out there to push evidence. You have to come to your own conclusion with it. I can only tell you what I have done during my investigations, and then present it to you as the client. So there's a lot of people, I find that when they get egotistical about it and they get defensive, It's simply that. I'm not going to push my agenda and
Yep.
the next person pushes it on them. Ego gets in the way too much.
Yes. And I got to be honest, there are a couple of situations where Calypso is talking about broadcast live. I used to broadcast live. They had something called Periscope. So you can broadcast video to Twitter, got it to a bigger audience. It's just, you didn't have to go through all the hoops of YouTube. And or for some reason one app works at the time and you need to transfer this, otherwise you're going to lose it. I've been guilty of uploading stuff to my like people like, what's this screen? What's, and like, I'll get back to you. I'm knee deep in, an investigation and I need the space to save it. But you try to give them information. You need more information on these photos. You can't just say, take a look, tell me what it is. It could be a piece of crushed velvet.
Absolutely.
And one person will see a monkey, the other person will see, I see a giraffe with a donut. Okay. And it's crushed velvet. It's not that,
Yeah, and I mean, I think as I said before, I've been in this for a long time, but that doesn't mean I'm an expert. Like, I make mistakes too. There's always been those, photos where you're reviewing it at the investigation. You go through the couple photos, you're excited, and then you realize, it was a smudge on the wall that you thought was the space, and you have to be humble about it. I think you have to come to these conclusions. There's a lot of evidence that I've gone kind of revisited and kind of went like, really, Katie? Like, that was an orb, it was a dust particle. But back then it's like, no, it's got to be an orb, it's got to be. And we don't understand, what I mean? Through time and education, experience, you may come to a different conclusion. So.
Well, I think that's just like through anything. It's like through science. As science makes, advancements, you're able to revisit stuff. Just like anything. It's like we used to believe that the Earth was, the center of the galaxy. And then through science, it's like you revisit it, and it's the sun. It's like it's the sun. You have a whole different model, and it's the same way. It's like when you actually go and revisit things as stuff comes up, you'd be like older stuff that you used to think was nothing. You're going to actually find it's like, crap, there was actually something in that photo.
Right.
That's the best. I mean, have you, Katie, have you had a situation where you must have your team have broken down, seen the same video, everybody took a look at it, probably more than once. You're like, nope, there's nothing here, or you didn't find something and stuff that's garbage, but you posted it or presented it in some format, and then someone comes in, look, there's a two old guys playing whatever in there, and you're like, how the hell did you see that? Have you ever gotten to that situation?
Absolutely, there's been a few times.
Yeah.
One really great way to practice that, honestly, Google Maps. If you go down to Street View, you just pick a random street and go through the Street View, start looking. The amount of entities that people capture, there's the Google Maps car, truck, train, whatever you want to call it, going through is not there to pick up paranormal evidence. But the amount of stuff that you capture in images in reflections in windows and all of that stuff, period time clothing, like, it's pretty cool, and out being in that position without actually physically being there, can you say without a shadow of a doubt it's paranormal? But it's a good way to practice.
So something in the long lines of this and the SLS, and there are select roads that I go on that I know have had accidents before because I've seen them on the road. And I'll be getting off a roadway or a highway to go underneath the highway to go get onto another highway, and my sensor beeps as if somebody's like, I'm going to hit something.
Yep.
And a lot of times it happens in New York. When we were living in New York, they would have a sign up. Last year, there was 317 deaths on this roadway. They tell you how many, I'm just using a number, but some of them are like 89, 117. That's a lot of people. Okay.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of times when you come down on a certain side of it, your thing beeps as if you're going next to somebody. And I think it's the same technology, because it may even be better because it's sonar based almost. And I think Here's the next build for you. I'm going to bug you for it. Take a piece of something, put all those sensors, the parking sensors on it, and then walk around with it and see what you get from it. Because I think that could be used very well to detect things.
I think that would be fantastic in a Bigfoot investigation. I think you should set it perimeters. And something really cool. I'm unaware of this, but I don't know why there isn't multiple teams going out and working in a square kilometer, square mile.
Yeah, like together.
I mean? And you're almost like in hunting where people. I don't know the technical term, but when they're kind of
it's not really technical. Yeah, you push. You push.
Thank you. You push the deer out. I don't know, and somebody waits at the other end. I don't know why that's not being done as much, or I haven't witnessed that being done as much in a Bigfoot investigation.
Because a lot of, like, we would refer to it as, we would be the dogs, and you'd have something like, because like when we go elk hunting, like usually the guy that somebody would get it, and as soon as you got you bagged your animal, then you become one of the dogs so we would just go around. We knew where the guys that still needed to find one, and we would go around and we would actually just push and kind of just basically almost like that herding thing, trying to push towards that location to where if it was, and that's actually a great point. If you could actually have more than just one or two, instead of just having Brian and Al in one location doing this thing, if you had Katie and somebody else, if you had me and Chris somewhere else, if you had all these ones, and we all kind of worked pushing towards like one location, if there was something there, it would actually force to go a direction. And like you said, if you had all those sensors up there, there's a really good chance you would catch something.
Except if the pusher becomes the pushy. Let me tell you, Jesus walked on water. I wouldn't be touching a leaf on that ground if something was chasing me, like a Bigfoot was chasing me. I would be floating through the forest trying to get away from it. That's my like
certain situations. But this would be a great TV series. You know how the Amazing Race? They have all these different teams, but now you do it with paranormal as well. Whoever catches the best evidence for Bigfoot,
Yeah. No, it's like, yeah, for me, it's one of those, it's like countless hours I've been out in the woods. I've yet to hear anything.
The series is called The Pushers.
Yeah.
And that's paranormal pushers.
It could be your attitude though, Craig. I mean, I know you spent a lot of hours hunting out there, but sometimes, like kind of like when you stay home waiting for the phone to ring and then you get up to go get the mail and it rang and you're like, damn it.
Yeah.
That's what it's like. It's a lot of times you don't get a Bigfoot. You don't get a rock knock. You don't get a tree knock. You don't get anything. You get nothing.
No, I've seen the people that catch hundreds of photographs every single time they go out. So that's not true. That's not true. They've got 17 in their backyard, and all I have to do is just go outside, and I will have all the evidence I need. You're trolling. You're trolling me.
Look, the best way to do Bigfoot for people, if they really want to get some evidence, go into an area that is known to have them, and it's very known in Florida. There's a ton of areas that have them, and go rent out a camping spot and go do the fire and do food on the fire and s'mores and other treats. And they love watching human beings. And if you're really smart, when you go out, before you go out at night, put some powder over the cars, sprinkle or spray powder, flick it.
The baby powder one.
Oh yeah. It works. It works really, really well.
I would take it a step further and put a bunch of cameras up.
Yep. I mean, well, you should put a bunch of cameras up, but I think that they can see the infrared spectrum and they can see that light. You need a camera that will not shine that light in that spectrum, so they see what the hell is that coming up from the ground over there. You need something that will just detect something, maybe a heat movement, and then fire the shot, not giving it enough time to react or to keep away from it. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah,
I think working with wind and oxygen. So you know how when you, and this is where like the engineering side of me tries to think of different ideas. When you go to a drive-through or you walk into a mall and you have almost like a wind curtain,
Yep.
Where you're feeling that wind. Why wouldn't you be able to do something like that that is natural and ambiance? They're not going to feel it, or they're not going to see it, right? It's going to be almost like the natural wind, but breaking that is going to cause an alarm system to go off. So you're not using heat, you're not using a sensor in that respect, but that blockage of wind current is going to create that kind of alarm to set off.
Gotcha. That's an
Because
interesting.
that would be definitely something to try.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would definitely like to look into putting something like that together. First, I was going to say I thought you were going to say you put out like a piece of glass in the forest, and Sasquatch comes in and hits it and bounces off and then gets pissed or something.
Well, if we know anything about nature, you put a window somewhere there, something's going to run into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's I know, because that's one of those, like, kind of going back to like where we did in the beginning. It's just, that's where it's just what you did there. That's what I would like to see more, is like like trying different things, because obviously just walking around the woods is not working. We're not capturing anything. We've got stories, but we don't have anything that we can present to the scientific community and say, because I can't remember all of them. It's like the Komodo dragon is one. For the longest time, that was a that was a creature known to cryptozoology. That was a rumored creature, but eventually somebody captured it.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't just walking around telling stories. It's like they eventually did studies. They eventually figured out where the habitat was, and they actually found it. And that's what it's kind of like that thing. It's like, we've got to actually start embracing that scientific side and actually start figuring out how to start narrowing down what we need. And as you get closer, you're going to start getting those answers. And then once you actually have something, like you said, then the question's really, then how have they been hiding? How they've been, then you've got all these other things, but you at least have that nugget that you could give to somebody that's on the doubter side, that, there might be something here.
Well,
let's embrace it.
Here's a question for you. Maybe you guys can answer this for me, but there is a hunting season, correct? In the States, there's a specific hunting season for hunting certain things. Do the Bigfoot sightings go up during those hunting seasons? Because you would seem to think more people are in the bush. So that would be kind of something that I would look into to kind of find out if that, the sightings are going up for that, right? Because, I mean, are the sightings all over the place? Does it go with the moon? Does it go? Those are the things that I would start to kind of jot down and kind of, is it a energetic thing? Is it a time of the year thing? Is it a time of the month thing? Is it a specific season? And kind of narrow it down from there. And once you kind of know month after month, I would probably spend a whole year kind of collecting that data, and then go out in the field after that year to know when you're narrowing it down. So in the middle of the month of the new moon, or at hunting season every day in October, there's something going on. Maybe it comes down to sunrise and sunset, but I don't think we're taking that analytical information and putting it into a database. We're out on foot, which is not bad. But again, we're not kind of making it easier on ourselves. We're brutes for punishment because we keep going back out again and again without any changes.
David Pallades did that. He's been tracking this stuff for a while. Everybody thinks he's just missing 411, but he's a UFO guy.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people didn't know that.
Okay.
And he tracks all these missing people, and has the database with it, and he's noticed that everybody they find that their rifles right there. Why didn't they use their rifle? What happened that, they know how many people have gone missing. When they go missing, they can correlate it to different seasons, hunting and fishing. But I don't think anybody's used it. I think this is what's really disgusting. It kind of gets me unnerved. People are fine with people just disappearing. Look at Alaska. There's like tons of people just disappear on a daily basis up in Alaska.
Yeah, it's because they fall into an ice cravat. And they just
it could be that, or it could be those people that are trying to run away from something. But then again, there's a lot of strange stuff in that part of the world. And I know that, if I went missing, I'm not suicidal. I don't plan on, doing anything crazy. I hope people are like, well, maybe he just wanted to go, maybe he went out for a walk, no, hello. someone should be looking for me for the most part. You know,
Yeah.
it's interesting. But I would think also that the Bigfoot or some of the other cryptids would want to. I think they're very much aware of the weapons that we have, and I think they would want. It's like, Mom, I'm going to go out and swing on a tree. Oh no, you're not. No, you're not, Mister. You've got 45s out there now. Don't you
Yeah,
hear
that'd
that?
be interesting to. Yeah, that'd be interesting to really find. Because I don't know if I've seen anybody actually compile like reports and stuff, like if it's if there's upticks during hunting season.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have quite a bit, and that's why I said we talked about it like on the last show too. It's like I've spent thousands of hours out in the woods, right up there where the Patterson film was made. I'm less than 3 hours away from that film location, and I'm up there. We're wood cutting. We're spending all day, multiple days in a row out there. Just constantly out there. Especially the hunting, you're out in remote areas. There's no civilization. Like I said, I've never heard a tree knock. I've never heard a whoop. I've been stalked by cougars. I've had bull elks run me to, what's her, I told Tina, get lost. I'm trying to hunt right now. I saw, you had bull elk just come run a full sprint, just come straight at me. Like I said, I have yet to encounter anything that would be considered paranormal, cryptid. Nothing. I've never even heard anything. I said, and it's not one of those making noise. I mean, there's times where you do like what you were saying, the pushing is I will go down there and you do, it's a stay put. While the other people are there and you park it. I put my back up against a tree and I sit there and it's just, you sit there and it's almost like meditation. You're listening. You're waiting to hear, even the slightest little, sound to clue you in. Nothing. It'll be like eerily quiet. There's nothing out there. And as like I said, I want to experience it, but it's one of those things. I'm just like I said, joking aside, you have those people that claim they hear them all the time, every single time they go out there. And I'm like, I would really love to, but it's like, I can honestly tell you, I have yet to encounter anything. And all the time I've been out in the woods, and the stuff I'm doing, you would think that would attract attention, because I've had elk, which are incredibly spooked by human activity. They'll actually they'll actually poke their head up to try to figure out what's going on, and then boom, they jet. I've never even seen anything. So it's
like you, Craig.
Yeah.
But maybe we're ignorant to assume that they're not a superior intelligence. They're like, oh, here they come again. Like, God, here they're their guns again. Maybe they're superior intelligence. Maybe that cloaking comes in handy. Who knows? They always say that winning the lottery and getting stalked by a cougar, the chances of winning the lottery are a lot higher than seeing that cougar. So maybe the same goes for Bigfoot.
Yeah, could be. It's definitely Derek. Yeah, we've definitely talked about that one. I've always, the thing that's always been in my side of why I believe that the Patterson film, honestly captured something, is because the best thing that was out there with all the Hollywood money was bionic Bigfoot. Anybody just go do those comparison, and to think that these two guys took out in the middle of nowhere on horseback. And they had something that would be considered a state of the art costume that even Hollywood couldn't recreate. Is something that that's one of those things I have a hard time. I'm like, just looking at it, it's like, just these guys missed their calling in Hollywood if they could create a suit that good.
And not only that, the guy that came forward said I was in the suit was this like short, portly guy. Kind of looked like, when they revealed who Darth Vader was in Star Wars, and like the bald guy's the bastard. That's the guy that's causing all the crap here. Kick him in the teeth and let's move on. It doesn't. So I think the reason why the Patterson film is still good is because it had zero electronics on there, and these creatures know how to manipulate digital and electronic stuff.
Yeah, Nope. I think was a little bit of predictive programming. For anybody that's if you Katie, did you watch that movie?
No.
Oh,
I've
you got to
seen
watch it.
I didn't watch the whole movie. I've seen bits and pieces of it.
You got to watch it.
Man.
Yeah, because that's how they actually what we just talked about. That's how they go about trying to capture footage.
Wow.
Is they go old school.
Okay.
Ah,
I'll get on
Yep.
it. I'll
Yeah.
watch the
So
whole thing. I've watched bits and pieces of it. Like I've, TikTok excerpts and stuff like that, but I can't sit through the whole thing.
yeah, no, I liked it. I thought people like I
don't
said,
have the patience to sit through it anymore.
right?
yeah. See, like is that Derek? That's the thing. That's the cool part about that. It's an awesome debate. Because people do that thing. It's just, and that's what.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's just one of the ones. Like I always, it's like if Bionic Bigfoot is the best thing that Hollywood could do, those guys missed their calling. They should have been in Hollywood because they would have made a lot of money especially in the monster genre, especially during that time, because that was still huge.
Agreed.
Well, we're closing in on 2 hours.
Yep.
And
So we're there. We gotta let her go.
Yes.
It's like I said, it's one of those. Thanks for sharing those photos.
No,
by the way.
Sure.
Yeah, that's
diverse, experiences. It was pretty cool.
That's what we bring to the table.
So if people want a reading from you, which they should, because you are, and I'm not saying this, I'm not sucking up. She's freaking the best. Okay.
Would you go here?
Where would you go to get a reading?
So Craig pulled it up. It's katieturnerpsychic.com. So that's my website. You can contact me there. Facebook, Katie Turner Sensitive Psychic Medium. You can contact me there. Shoot me a message. There'll be an automated thing that comes up that says call me with my number. And I'm trying to train people to call me because it's very difficult. I have so many messages. I'm very blessed and I'm very grateful, but I just can't keep up with people and it gets lost in a queue. So if you phone, if I can answer, I can answer. And if not, leave a message, I can get back to you that way quicker. But yeah, you can reach me there.
Yep. And my daughter does still thank you for predicting the multicolored dog that she's getting. That I wasn't aware of, but thank you. Thank you very much,
buddy.
Yeah, Jen was saying that you should women of the paranormal celebration.
Oh
yes, Jen actually. Okay, so Jen Jacobs meet Katie Turner. Katie Turner meet Jen Jacobs. Jen does the women of the paranormal celebration. It's like it's in person. We're type in Jen where it is, but it may be close to the northern border there. But you can do it also virtually as well. She'll give you the information.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then real quick, Derek wanted to know what your thoughts were on the whole Patty.
Oh.
From what I've seen, I think it's real. I do. I can't come up with a debunking explanation. I just can't. I just can't. I can see where people's perceptions, think it could be faked, but I think there's too much. There's, like you said, Craig, there's too much. Like it would take so much effort. They would have to helicopter something in. They would have to. Well, we all know that wouldn't happen. So I believe that it's real.
Yeah, that would have been a lot to backpack in on that thing because for anybody that doesn't, it's remote. There's no road, and especially in the 60s. You might have had some skid trails that you could have gone up there, but there was no road system that was going to just get you right up there to that location. I mean, so that would have been a massive undertaking to get all that stuff. I mean, for a hoax too. And
to walk, so back then that you didn't have the light lycra and latex and all of that stuff to make a light costume. It would have been so heavy. How do you lug that up to a certain location without having multiple horseback or helicopter, it being flown in, which we know that wouldn't have happened. There was just too much. There's too much. So I do believe that it was real. I don't have any evidence to prove that it's not real. Let's put it that way.
That's just it. It's one of those. It's kind of the hard fact, soft fact thing where it's like there's enough there, but there's not really enough to either prove nor disprove. It's just it's like you're looking at it. It's like it's like I said, the pros and cons. It's like, yeah, you can see these things. Yes, but the same thing is like when you got a lot of people at the pro con. It's just like you said, just the massive undertaking it would have been to get this prop in place to pull this thing off is just it's. I mean, one, hats off to him for pulling the hoax of the millennium. I mean, that's one of the was going to go down as one of the greatest hoaxes of all time. Short of the Tampa Bay Penguin.
Yeah, exactly. I also think too that they didn't do enough justification to say it was a hoax when the guy said he was in the suit. Like, again, you have to have more convincing evidence than that.
Yeah, because this is definitely
saying you're in a suit. Like, okay, so how did you get up the hill? Like, I just don't find that he was. And again, I've only seen excerpts, so I don't find that he was specific enough to prove it.
Yep. There's no way the guy was in the suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, stories never changed either. It's always the same. There's just a lot of things. Like I said, it's one of those that's always going to go down. It's like you're going to have the camps. You're going to have. There's not too many people in the center that are like, most people are they either believe it or they're like, nah, it's fake. It's.
There's an individual that's waiting for Bob to pass away, and he says he's going to come out with some stuff when Bob passes away.
Is that you?
And no, I don't know Bob.
Just messing with him, folks.
No. But I'm very suspect of that whole type of thing, and I've heard that through a third party. So, why would you have to wait? If there's something to come out, bring it out.
Yeah, I mean, what are you worried is going to happen to you if you bring it
out? If Bob goes, Bob's pretty sharp. He doesn't hear very well, but if Bob goes, then he can't refute it. So then you can make this whole controversy of it, just like the same person had said. They swear they were up at LBI, at that encounter where the family got ripped to shreds. No, dogmen aren't this guy. Like, I'm gonna rip that one. You run. They don't do that. If they're attacking, it's like a cougar will rip and kill everything to get what it wants. Or if it doesn't matter how many different other animals are there or other women, they're going to go through the whole thing to get what they want. Craig, so just so you know, so we've got to get a cougar to help with this. Like,
I know. Yep. There's plenty of them down here in Florida. I mean, come on, especially the villages.
You've heard of the cougar, but have you heard of the vulture?
No.
So the vulture is the older version of the cougar. It can't take down they can't take it down, but it circles it and waits for it to be finished, and then it comes in and
then it comes in. I think I've heard them referred to as like saber tooths. That is the
cryptids are scary.
Yeah, it's not the cougar; it's the saber tooth. That's oh, that's a perfect way to end it. Kate, so go to kturnerpsychic.com. I think I said that right. Hopefully I did.
Sure.
Yeah, I messed up on an advertisement earlier.
Yes. Yeah. No, it's I said check that. You don't think again.
Wait a minute. So you say saber tooth, and then you say perfect way to end, Katie. Thank you, Craig. Love it. I'm forever going to be Katie Sabertooth Turner.
No. I hope not.
Oh my God.
Love it.
Yeah, I think that's about as good as the last time. It's like when we ended it, it's like, Katie Turner medium, and you said, it's like, no, I'm not medium.
I'm a large.
Yeah. That's, yeah. So the next time you're on, we'll have to figure out another great way to end the show.
Love it. Love it. Well, thanks so much for having me, guys. Honestly, it was a pleasure.
Not what I meant.
As always.
It's always a pleasure having
you. So
on.
Go support it. Like I said, definitely. Somebody was like, we need to have her as a regular guest. Yes, we do. It's a lot of fun. So next Wednesday, hopefully, I will be not as drugged up. So yeah. I think I don't think I was spacing off too much.
Greg took a couple of mollies before he came on tonight.
Took a couple of nose bumps before I got on the show.
Yeah,
Yeah, I see me over here. Ah, ah.
Yeah. You think it's gonna be
Yeah.
okay? Yeah.
What's going on? So did you guys see that thing that was out there in the woods last night? Oh man, it got me all crazy.
There are a couple of research in the field that actually do what you're doing right now, but
Yeah,
and they're in Florida, but I'm not gonna.
yeah. Mine was the green pill variety from Alka-Seltzer.
There you go.
Yeah, so I went away from the blue or the red pill. I went with the green pill. So I'm not sure what that means in the
Pill?
matrix work.
Not a problem. But
So
thanks again.
all right.
Katie.
So
He's gonna
so
cue the music
Katie Turner,
now.
not Sabretooth, Katie Turner. Yeah,
Thank you, gentlemen. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you so much. We will see you on the next one. So, all right. So, what do you want? What do you want to see us out with? You want the kaiju, or do you want lightning, or do you want the name promo? Which would you like to see? Or
Let's go lightning.
lightning. All right, everybody. Thank you again. We will see you on the next show. Katie Turner, psychic.com. Go visit her, support her, tell her thank you for that, and we will see you guys on the next one. Good night.
Bye.